The record for today is one I've been meaning to review ever since I started this show. Chances are you've probably seen it while crate digging or maybe even own a copy, but despite its infamous nature, I'm willing to bet that most of you have never actually sat down and listened to the whole thing. I know I never did before this review, and what I discovered may surprise you. Let's not waste any more time and get right into Herb Alpert's cult classic cheesecake album, Whipped Cream and Other Delights. The album was released in April of 1965 on Herb's own label, A&M Records. 7 months later, it hit the #1 spot on Billboard's Top 200, holding that position until January 1966, when it was knocked down by the Beatles' Revolver, only to return once more in February of 1966 and stay there for several more weeks. The single, A Taste of Honey, won 4 Grammys at the 8th Annual Award Show in 1966. Ironically, the album lost out on the Best Photography Award, which went to Paul Horn's Jazz Suite on the Mass Texts. What I find interesting is that Herb played all the trumpet parts for this album. He used overdubbing techniques and played slightly out of sync with each part to give it that unique Tijuana brass sound. What I also learned is that the backing band on this record is different than the band that played in concert with Herb. He chose to record with the best studio musicians in Hollywood, including Leon Russell, Carol Kaye, Hal Blaine, and many others, almost all of whom were members of the Wrecking Crew. Seriously, if you don't know who these guys are, look them up. They played on some of the biggest hits of early rock and roll. It's incredible. There's even a documentary about them going around the country, but because of licensing issues with the music, it's not widely available yet. So let me break this down for you. Alpert's music falls into 2 camps. The first being this Americanized, south-of-the-border style, which has been called mariachi. The other style is this hyper lounge music, almost cliche, dare I say iconic 60s pop music. It's really hard to explain, and it's this style that I just love. It's amazing, brilliant even, but do I want to listen to it every day? No. Not at all. But I still appreciate the creative energy that produced it, and I'm almost more amazed that there was ever a time when it didn't exist. I couldn't imagine the 60s without it. Maybe I could. No, I don't want to go there. Now, even if you think you haven't heard these songs before, chances are you already have. If you've ever watched The Dating Game from back in the day, the show used not 1, nor 2, but 5 songs from Herb Alpert, 4 of which come from this album alone. Among them, Whipped Cream and Lollipops and Roses became mainstays for the show. And now it's hard to listen to them without conjuring up images of uncomfortable plaid pants and cheesy game show grins. But hey, that could just be me, right? I'm probably geeking out way too much over this, but I swear tracks 3 and 4 and side 1 are mistitled. Now hear me out. Track 4 is titled Bittersweet Samba, but it's neither bittersweet nor samba. However, if you listen to the previous track, Tangerine, not only is it clearly a samba, it's got this melancholy vibe about it. You know, I haven't read anywhere that a mistake was made, so it seems intentional, but it still makes me wonder. What do you guys think? Take a listen and let me know if you feel the same way. Have you ever noticed how all the track names are based on flavors or foods? I mean, really. Green Peppers, Tangerine, Ladyfingers, El Garbanzo, Butterball. It really made me wonder until I realized that Whipped Cream was a hit single before the album was ever made, and thus they built a whole album around the idea of food. Man, they must have been hard up for album concepts, or maybe they were just really hungry. I know I've been known to make some pretty silly decisions on an empty stomach, but I'll save that story for another day. It's really funny actually, me and Auntie Vinyl. I mean, let's be honest here. I think no matter what kind of music was on the album, it would have sold just as well purely for the cover alone. And here to talk about it is our own Auntie Vinyl. Now, you have a story to tell about this album.
Yes, I was actually the original cover girl for the album.
You know, I can't imagine why they didn't end up using you.
I know, I was shocked as well. I think maybe I was a little bit too risque for back then. I mean, look at my test shots. Yes. Lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't leave much for the imagination, but I can see why it was so risque.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit too much for them back then. But do you know what? The actual model they used, Dolores Erickson, she was 3 months pregnant at the time. And unlike my fully nude shot, she wore a bikini underneath that chiffon blanket and that shaving cream.
So wait a minute, they didn't use real whipped cream?
No, well, they did for me, but they quickly found out that it melted underneath hot light, and I gave all the crew a cheap thrill before lunchtime and they couldn't get back to work. So they used shaving cream with her. Although I think she used real cream on her fingers.
What is wrong with you, Auntie? It's my drink.
It's nice.
Now, I don't have to convince you guys, but I swear this album holds the record for the most number of parody covers. Some of my favorites include Pat Cooper's Spaghetti Sauce and Other Delights.
Look at him, covered in marinara sauce.
Yeah. The famous Soul Asylum EP, Clam Dip and Other Delights.
I wonder if that's where Pearl Jam got the name from. Clam dip? Pearl Jam?
Be onto something, Auntie. And of course, the Frivolous Five, Sour Cream and Other Delights. Just look at that cover.
That's not risque. I was doing that at Catholic school.
So you see, it just never ends. It keeps evolving and giving back. I mean, I love this stuff. The only other album I think had more parodies was Abbey Road.
Oh, the Beatles. I was there at the time on the other side of the road. That's why they were rushing across so quickly.
Well, even without the help of parody covers, the photo became so famous that during concerts, Herb would tell the audience that he was sorry he couldn't play the cover for them.
Do you know where my cover photo ended up?
No idea.
In an adult store in the Congo that coincidentally my Aunt Vera picked up in August of 1974. I was so embarrassed.
You know, the first time I really listened to the whole album, I felt it was kind of a mixed bag, with the two distinct styles of Herb's music competing for my attention. And I was honestly disappointed that the whole album wasn't akin to the whipped cream sound, but with subsequent listens, I've come to enjoy the overall flow and feeling of the album. 2015 marks the 50th anniversary of the album's release. Does it hold up after all this time? Honestly, not for me. I think the record goes great at a 60s theme party or while sipping on a nice, cool cocktail. I say you're really going to enjoy this music if you're a fan of lounge and cocktail music from this era, but you probably already own this album. So for everyone else, I say you can pass on it. If you see it for $1 or less or just love the cover, I say pick up a copy. It makes a great gift. And since it sold over 6 million copies in the US alone, they're not that hard to find unless you have my luck, and you may spend 3 years digging through thrift store bins trying to find a copy. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Do you own this album? Have you ever heard it all the way through? Are you a fan, or is it a joke to you? Let me know in the comments below. Well, that is all the time I have for you. I am your Vinyl Geek.
And I'm Auntie Vinyl.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.
You can have a rummage around my record box if you like.
Can I now?
Yeah, there's some treasures in there, the like of which you've probably never seen before.
You know, my collection's pretty full, Auntie.
No.
I really don't need any more.
Digging deep, get right in there. Go on, love. Have a good look around.
I can't help but think you're talking about something else when you talk about your box.
What would that be?
Oh, I believe I did, actually. I think you showed it earlier.
Yeah, you did, and you liked it, didn't you?
I appreciated the composition and the shading on your face.
Yeah, you did.
I thought it was artfully done.
You thought it was sexy, didn't you? You did. I can see.
Sexy is a very broad term. It can mean different things for different people.
Broad, sexy. I see where you're